friends, I'm Amy, a health coach here at Flip Your Leaf, and today we're talking about the goal or the purpose of the low FODMAP diet. Now, whatever you've heard, the idea here, the goal is really to add as many foods as we can back into your long-term diet. So the low FODMAP diet, or this elimination phase, gets a ton of time in the spotlight, but there are 3 phases to the low FODMAP program. There's the elimination phase where we remove all those high FODMAP foods. There's the re-challenge phase where we get a preview of how we're going to respond to each group by testing one specific food from each group. And then there's the personalization phase, which is where we actually get to have the fun part and add more foods back into your diet. And this part, this third phase that we never talk about for some reason, is the whole purpose of the program. Now, here's some, background information for you. FODMAPs are just a group of short chain carbohydrates. So these are little tiny groups of sugars that are either pulling excess amounts of water into your digestive system, or they're rapidly fermented by your gut bugs. And so this can cause a whole number of problems for people with IBS. And we generally find that 3 out of 4 people who need the low FODMAP diet are sensitive to several FODMAP groups. Now, that's not to say that every single person with IBS has FODMAP sensitivities, but there are a large number of people who are sensitive to one or more groups. So during the low FODMAP diet, really our goal is to take all of those things that you may have removed just because you weren't sure, right? I don't know, like, is this behind my symptoms? I'm having symptoms now. Am I pulling out things that I'm eating now? Or I'm noticing I'm eating these things frequently and I keep having symptoms. The trick with FODMAPs in particular, as well as many other foods that we're eating, is that the time from actually consuming the food to when our symptoms hit can be anywhere from 4 to 24 hours. And, our brains aren't really meant to make connections that way. And so unless you're like fastidiously keeping a food journal and you have the skills to analyze that, it becomes very difficult to find food triggers on our own. And so by pulling out all of these high FODMAP foods at once, not only are we sort of containing all of these re-challenges together, so you're not, doing an elimination phase and a re-challenge and then another elimination phase and a re-challenge. Like you can sort of let go of that feeling of being a science experiment and pull out a whole group of foods that we know trigger many, many people with IBS, and then use a quick and efficient way of really systematically testing them so you know for sure when you come out in the personalization phase, I have the confidence to say this does or does not work for my body. I know what the consequences are of eating that food. In my program, we talk about something called buying something on credit, which is something that is going to cause symptoms for you later. It's your decision though. Like, that's worth paying for that tomorrow. Like, I love cheesecake, and every year for my birthday, my husband takes me to my favorite restaurant and I indulge in the best cheesecake ever. And I book the day off because that is 100% worth it to me. FODMAPs don't cause damage to your body, so this is not the same as something like an allergy. These are foods that aren't getting out of your intestines, and so really knowing not only what foods, but what serving sizes work for your bodies gives you that freedom, right? Like, even if we do have to leave some foods behind for now, right? Even if you go through your tests and you find that some foods don't work for you right now, first of all, it doesn't mean that they're not going to work for you later. We're not canceling them out. They're not gone. We're putting them on the back burner and we're going to check again later. But even if you do have to leave some foods here, right? We're doing our first round of this, even if some foods are just a no-go for you right now, turning our focus onto, I have the power to go to a restaurant and read a menu and with confidence say this, this, and this are going to be fine for me, and let go of that worry, right? Let go of that anxiety of now I don't know if I'm going to have symptoms, when those symptoms are going to hit. This is the goal of the low FODMAP program. I know what foods I can eat. I know what serving sizes I can eat. If I'm going to have symptoms, I know when they're going to hit and what they're going to look like. It sort of takes that mystery out for you. And food is just one piece of the puzzle for IBS. FODMAPs is part of that broader food sort of category. There's also lifestyle changes, there's sleep, there's stress, there's movement, there's so many pieces to this puzzle that even if you have, you've found all your FODMAP sensitivities, we can go so much further for you. While there currently isn't a cure for IBS, there are so many ways to manage your day-to-day symptoms that you can have a perfectly functioning life. You can feel perfectly comfortable in your body. Even when symptoms hit, we can have that happen less frequently. We can have that have less of an impact on your body less of those off days, and you'll know what to do, right? Creating that safety zone of I'm not feeling well, I know exactly where to go back to. This is the goal. This is the purpose of programs like the Low Fodmap program, is to give you that control over your life where I can make informed decisions about what I do and don't want to put in my body, and I can let go of that anxiety and that worry. So if you're feeling really great in the elimination phase, I know I did. I was like symptom free when I did the elimination phase, and I didn't know that there were 2 more phases coming. And so when my dietitian was like, hey, also we're going to re-challenge all of these, I freaked out. I was like, I don't want to challenge those. Like, what if I go back to how I used to feel? Like, I don't want to put those things in my body. They feel dangerous. I'm not okay with that. There are lots of ways to make this process less anxiety provoking for you. There are lots of ways that we can reduce the stress on your body so that this feels comfortable, this feels okay for you, because that end goal is really adding back. It's not taking away. It's adding back as many foods and as many serving sizes as possible so that you can have as much variety in your diet as like humanly possible. It's good for your brain, right? It's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical body to have a variety of nutrients. I like to joke that your gut bugs are like little toddlers. They're picky eaters. So we want to make sure that they are getting a huge variety of foods as well. And so really by expanding your diet in a systematic way, we can not only build that confidence, but we can include more foods in your diet without that worry, without that anxiety. So really, the purpose of the low FODMAP diet really boils down to just adding back as many foods as possible and leaving behind that worry, that anxiety of I don't know what's causing my symptoms, I don't know when they're going to hit, I don't know what that's going to look like, so that you can have, a happy and healthy and calm body and let, IBS just become a fact about you instead of sort of just lurking in the background of your brain all the time. So that's a bit of a big thing for, hey, let's talk about the low FODMAP program. That got a little heavy, sorry. But if you want to learn more about IBS, you want to learn more about FODMAPs, how to make that process easier for you, how to make sure that you're not getting into, any of the sort of myths or missteps that might slow you down or stop you from getting the results that you want, make sure that you hop in my newsletter. I'm going to drop the link below. Totally free. There's tons of cool stuff in there. I've got free printables. You get an invite to my free Facebook community group. I would love to have you in there. I'm going to drop the link below. But before you go, don't forget to just subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.